Russell Wilson listed as quarterback 1 on, of course, every team's got to put out these dopey unofficial depth charts before their preseason games. Wilson listed as 1, but Fields is going to start the preseason opener against the Texans.
I still think they're going to start Wilson, but, if they start Fields, so be it. Like, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I know this. I think they're both talented.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
What is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League. 2 stud tight ends. They're a legit 5 deep at receiver. 7 bona fide pass targets, Gio. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the LIV Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the LIV Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
Live on SportsGrid, we got game time decisions for you right here on a Saturday morning. I'm Kevin Walsh with you. We're live until 12:30 today. 1 o'clock, Casey Hudson will take over, and the in-game live crew will have you loaded up for what is a full slate of NFL preseason action. Big time Saturday here, and you know we will be dialed in. We've got Major League Baseball as well, some WNBA that we will get to, and also, if you'd like, the Premier League has started. For the soccer fans out there, yesterday Manchester United opened the season against Fulham. We've already seen one game go final today with Liverpool winning 2-0 over Ipswich. And you have right now 4 different games at the break. All of those games sitting at 1-0. Arsenal up on Wolves. Everton trails Brighton. And we've got Newcastle up on Southampton and Nottingham Forest right now up on Bournemouth. I actually am going to look to get involved in one of these games, which is the Newcastle-Southampton game. Newcastle right now up a goal here in this one. However, on a red card, could probably limit some of their attacking prowess in this game, already being on the lead, being in the lead. The total in this game is 1.5. I think that number is due somewhat to the idea that, we could see Southampton now break through. Due to that red card, I'm thinking that this one stays under the 2.5. Certainly more room for a goal, but I'm looking to get involved with this right here, right now. Premier League style for the people. Newcastle United and Southampton under 2.5 live. We're in the mix here with the people on the soccer slate. Now we get to the American football, shall we? As we have a full slate here. I'm going to go through every game, but I'm going to start with the ones that I've obviously placed wagers in because I think that would be appropriate. At 1 o'clock, my favorite game today is Texans-Giants under 39.5. This number is a little funny to me. I know that when it comes to the preseason, every quarterback is essentially twice, triple as good as they would be in the regular season, right? It's why we go through the preseason and then all of a sudden it's like, ooh, Nate Sudfeld. Oh, wow, look, they've got Marcus Mariota as their backup. You'll hear me say things like this, right? So if you happen to see a starter no matter how long you see that starter, it's whoa, we got juice. Except for if that starter's Daniel Jones, man. Come on now. I understand Daniel Jones is supposed to play in this game. I don't care. It's Daniel Jones. I know C.J. Stroud is probably going to get out there, spinning around a little bit. He did so with against Pittsburgh last week. That's okay. That's a score if C.J. Stroud's able to put it up on the board here. Drew Lock was injured last week when the Giants went up against the Detroit Lions. I'm not sure we see him in this one. Malik Neighbors is a question mark as well. Even if he goes out there, runs a couple routes, it's not going to be long. It's really not. So this is a spot for me. I think this game continues to drop as it goes on. This 39.5 is the biggest total we have on the board here for this preseason slate. At least tied with that Cowboys-Raiders game. I think this number's way too high. I'm on under 39.5 Texans-Giants here at 1 o'clock. I am also playing this Bears-Bengals game under 36.5. I was initially going to look to grab Cincy here, plus the 6 and a hook. It is a huge week-to-week swing, where Cincinnati last week was a 6-point favorite against Tampa Bay. However, a lot is now week over week working against Cincinnati, which is Jake Browning picked up an injury. We do not expect to see him. And Joe Burrow, who went out there for a drive and threw a touchdown pass to T. Higgins, is not expected to play in this game either. So now you have a really bad quarterback situation for Cincinnati heading into this game against the Chicago Bears. And a Chicago Bears team that, while I understand their offense has ripped and roared through 2 games, 21 points against the Texans in nowhere near a full game, and then 33 last week against Buffalo, those 33 points against the Bills were a little inflated due to circumstance. A pick 6 in that game, and then a turnover on downs that put this team in a really comfortable position, as well as a punt from a really short distance. Those final 3 touchdowns there, the Bears scored 20 fourth-quarter points. That is not typical. That is not bankable, and I think that inflates this number here a little bit. I am on under 36.5 in Cincinnati and Chicago. I am on over 38.5 Kansas City and Detroit. I mentioned giving Nate Sudfeld a little love. That's exactly what I'm going to do here in this matchup for the Lions. I think the Lions getting another week here, a little bit of extra time as well. They played on a Thursday. They're going to want to get some juice here, being held to just 3 points scoreless after the first quarter in that game against the Giants. Hendon Hooker shaking off some rust, right? That was his first real game in a long, long time after he tore his leg up, unfortunately for him, as he finished out his career with the Tennessee Volunteers. And we saw the Chiefs last week. They popped Mahomes out there, Wentz for a little bit. We're expecting to see Mahomes for a quarter. I think that means we could see Carson Wentz for a quarter. I think that means we can get then Ian Book for another quarter here. And that Chiefs defense certainly was not putting any real pressure up against the Jags. Allowed 26 points and 9.1 yards per pass attempt for Jacksonville there. I think we've got juice today with this Kansas City and Detroit game. Aside from me in Cleveland, Minnesota, I'm going to lay the 3 here. Look, I don't know if this is chalky for some, but this feels a little obvious for me with the Minnesota Vikings losing J.J. McCarthy for the year. While they're going to play Sam Darnold some, you imagine they're going to be now additionally cautious with Sam Darnold in this football game. And Cleveland tosses out one of the deeper preseason quarterback rooms in not just Jameis Winston, but Tyler Huntley and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Whether we see Watson or not is kind of inconsequential here tonight. I'm open to the world where Huntley and Jameis Winston are both better than Sam Darnold. I really am. Tyler Huntley made a Pro Bowl. What's Sam Darnold ever done? Jameis Winston's an electric factory. When has Sam Darnold ever been considered electric? And he had mono once. That's not electric. That's childish. So I think the Cleveland Browns here laying 3 at home. It's a really nice number. I think it's dropped a lot because they last week no-showed a game against the Green Bay Packers, but they bounced back here at home. Give me the Browns laying 3. Give me the Commanders catching 5. Way too big of a swing week to week here. Miami was catching points from Atlanta last week at home. Washington was laying points last week on the road against the Jets. Miami back at home. Washington back on the road. 5-point line here. I think we've swung too far. Commanders still with a much deeper quarterback room from a preseason perspective. And, of course, Jaden Daniels is expected to play in this game. Maybe we get a quarter. out of Jaden Daniels here, and we can get an early Washington lead here. I'm taking these 5 points with the Commanders. Late night love for me when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys plus the 7 against the Vegas Raiders. Last week, the Raiders looked like fade material on an overinflated 3.5 point number against the Vikings. They ended up blowing a 20-7 lead and losing that game walk-off fashion for the Vikes, 24-23. While I think that there is some worry the Vegas Raiders could look to run this thing up a little bit because that's just who Antonio Pierce is. I don't think he'll be all too pleased. They blew that lead at home. The Dallas Cowboys last week were laying 5.5 on the road against the Rams. Laying 5.5. They're now catching 7. I think this is way too big of a move here. I think Trey Lance can step up a little bit week over week, and maybe we get a little bit more Cooper Rush to help put some early points on the board here. Let's lock in with Dallas plus the 7. That's my card for the NFL preseason. It's 6 picks long. It's under 36.5. Bears-Bengals. It's under 39.5. Texans-Giants. That's my favorite. It's over 38.5. Lions-Chiefs. We lay the 3 with Cleveland. We take the 5 with Washington. And we take the 7 with the Dallas Cowboys. We'll go through the rest of that preseason slate for you, as well as put eyes on the Major League Baseball board and answer the all-important question. Did Paul Skeens keep his Cy Young hopes alive yesterday? Baseball slate starts with Pittsburgh. We'll start with that next right here on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're in the mix with you live right here on SportsGrid, Saturday style. Before we get to this baseball board, I just want to touch on every NFL game because it is the NFL. And, of course, I've eyed up all these games, so I'll give you my thoughts. Baltimore and Atlanta is where this slate begins. It actually is a noon kick, so we'll be live for some of this game. I was going to play Atlanta, and they were plus 1.5. They're now flipping to minus 1.5, minus 120 on the money line. I backed off this game. The weather doesn't look great, and I am now a little worried about betting Baltimore to have a kind of a sizable losing streak in the preseason. I believe last year they lost the final 2 preseason games. I know they lost their last preseason game. They lost the game against the Eagles here. I thought about playing the over, but I really hate this Baltimore quarterback room, and it's like they missed Tyler Huntley. Like, if Harbaugh really cared about the preseason, they would have kept Huntley around for this whole thing. I backed off this game. The lean is Atlanta and over, but I'm off this game here. But I just want to touch every game for everybody here, just so you guys kind of have some thoughts. Seahawks-Titans. Okay, so the Titans have a solid enough quarterback room from the preseason end of it all. I think Seattle laying 1.5 here more so just speaks to how wrong. It's preseason, I get it. The -3 was last week against the Chargers. The one thing that I wonder is McDonald coming over from Baltimore, where he learned preseason excellence. Does that carry over here now? New head coach in this job with Seattle. Dominated the Chargers last week, and his defense was awesome. Shutdown style. I think that was a 17-3 final score in that football game. So I look at this one here. There's a part of me that wants to lean Seattle. There's legitimate weapons, though. Again, you have like Sam Howell's a very good backup preseason quarterback, right? Which is what the Seahawks have here. I'm thinking a little bit towards Seattle. But again, there's a reason I backed off that game. Colts Cardinals, I had no real good read here, to be honest with you. Really didn't. I think the Colts quarterback room's a little bit better. I'd rather go home dog. Pittsburgh, Buffalo, I thought about going Pittsburgh. Tomlin just does not lose in the preseason. It's underrated because it wasn't some 20-plus game streak for the Pittsburgh Steelers like it was the Baltimore Ravens. But I think it was 2017, the last time we saw Tomlin lose multiple preseason games. The only way I could look in this game is Pittsburgh at pick, but Josh Allen's supposed to play a quarter. At the end of the day, I mean, C.J. Stroud cut through that Pittsburgh team like a knife through butter. Like, Josh Allen should put a touchdown up on the board here. So, Pittsburgh live. Again, I want to touch all these games, but there's a reason why I'm not betting these games that I'm on the 6 that I'm on. Panthers-Jets, I just want to know if Bryce Young's going to play. Almost want a principal on that over 31.5, which is by far the lowest number that we have here on our total. I mean, it just kind of stands out like a sore thumb. But then again, it's preseason football. We know how those numbers get there. Slight lean, Carolina. It's an ugly, ugly game. Chargers-Rams is nasty work. It's preseason at its finest. The Rams don't even like to do preseason football. Garoppolo's not playing. Stafford's they probably don't even let him in the building for a game like this. The Chargers are all kinds of banged up here. I will say this. The Rams are not having Sean McVay coach this game. He's letting an assistant head coach this game. I've seen some people think that's reason to back the Chargers. Big disagree. I would lean Rams here. If this gets to 3, I'll bet the LA Rams. You've given, like, the incentive would then be to win for the fill-in head coach and let him put that on the board. I would look Rams if you can get to the 3. Jags, Bucks. Bucks last week got it done in Cincinnati. Can they get it done here again? It's hard not to look over that 37.5. Tampa's offense had some rhythm last week on the road against Cincinnati, and the Jags quarterback room preseason-wise is legitimately deep there. That total at 37.5 might just be a tick too low. Major League Baseball board here for the people. Look, this starts off with Pittsburgh. I have to just acknowledge, of course, for anybody out there who's rolling with the Paul Skeens Cy Young ticket, yesterday was good in that the number was shorter, but at plus 950. Are we ever going to get back to that 2-1 plus 150 number? It's going to require a lot of help. And unfairly to Paul Skeens, he has to be a lot better. 6 innings, 2 earned, 6 strikeouts. That's not good enough. It's not good enough. Strikeout prop yesterday was 8.5. Seattle strikes out a ton. That needed to be double-digit Ks. Nothing about that box score stands out. His ERA, this is how good he's been, went up yesterday in that performance of 6 innings, 2 earned. So it wasn't a nightmare. And to some degree, tipped the cap. He got the win. It broke a 10-game losing streak for this baseball team. But it wasn't a huge market mover from Skeens. Early looks on this baseball board, and you guys know me, we let this baseball board develop. We get our lineups to come out, which are always important there. But Pittsburgh does look like a legitimate home dog here. I just don't love Luis Castillo. It's kind of one of my problems with the Seattle Mariners team. I know everybody loves this rotation. I am, every single member of the Mariners rotation, I am probably lower than the consensus on. And if that's true, then they're a hard sell, right? Because the lineup is never what anyone is trying to sell you on with this team. Let me make sure I just quickly bring up the WNBA before we get to some horse racing today. 3-game slate here. Minnesota, Washington. The Fisha Collier's number looks a little bit too low. This number's 18.5. It was 18.5, 19.5 in the first game against this Mystics team. She's a much better scorer on the road because they need her to be a better scorer on the road. Scored 17 in her first game back, only played 30 minutes, which is well below her typical average. If this game is closer, like the spread suggests, Collier gets through that 18.5. Vegas is climbing. This was 2.5. It's up to 3.5 now against the New York Liberty here. It is a bit of a statement spot for the Vegas Aces. A part of me now almost wants to pivot, though, towards this total, checking in at 175. Can these two offenses just continue to light it up? How about the Liberty's first game back from the break, man? 103 they put up on the Sparks. And don't forget the Vegas Aces' last W game was a loss, and we know this has been true for years now. When they are coming off a loss, they can get right towards 100 points, so it wouldn't surprise me. And then you've got the 5 o'clock slate there with the Sparks in the sky. Is Kennedy Carter going to play? It is the biggest thing. Chicago Sky were a mess in that first game, but that is understandable. Not only was Kennedy Carter out, it was the first game since they traded Marina Mabrey to the Sun, and we saw how good she was last night for Connecticut and helped that offense. Does Kennedy Carter play? I cannot bet this game until we get the answer to that all-important question. Let's talk some horses next, live on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Live on SportsGrid, it's Game Time Decisions here with you on a Saturday morning. I'm Kevin Walsh, now joined by Alexa Zepp as we get set for another Saturday of racing. Alexa, how's the slate look here today?
Pretty good, Kevin. We finally have some dry weather, it looks like. It's been a pretty rainy couple of weeks, but we've got two big races in the country today. So the first one is at Saratoga, which I heard you just went to. Was that an awesome experience?
It was fantastic. Fun. I mean, again, it was a real guessing game for me. I was trying to read the books and figure it out. I was also I was betting horses to show, and then the odds weren't that great, so that was a whole waste of time. I realized. I don't know. The whole thing was I was figuring out on the fly, Alexa.
If you're going to make a show bet, they better be long odds, that's for sure. But hopefully I can help you all to not have quite the guessing game today. So the grade 1 Alabama is at Saratoga. It's for 3-year-old fillies going 1.25 miles on the dirt, so it's a long race. We've got a pretty exciting field, a number of pretty strong closers in here, including Candide, who's been competing against some really tough competition, including the Kentucky Oaks winner, Torpedo Anna, and a 2-year-old juvenile champion, just FYI. She'll be the favorite for sure. Power Squeeze is also in here, who won the Delaware and the Gulfstream Oaks, but I'm going to try to beat both of them with number 4, Just Basking. We're going to get 5-1 odds on her, and I think that's a pretty good price. She is by Arrogate, and on Timeform US, we have a breeding rating that scores a horse from 0 to 100 for each surface and distance combination. And for this combination, she's a 100, so you really can't get any better than that. Her last out was the Iowa Oaks, which is not what you'd necessarily considered an A track, so her connections thought a lot of her to bring her up to Saratoga. But in that performance, I agree, that performance was awesome. She won by almost 5 lengths and improved her Beyer speed figure by 14 points to a 90. And that's a huge improvement. You do not see horses making that big of a leap every day. So, and that 90 Beyer figure is more than competitive in here. There are only 2 other horses in here that have put up a bigger number. And then in addition to the Iowa Oaks, she had another blowout race where she won by almost 8 lengths. And that one was 1.25 miles, which is today's distance. So she has experience. She's only one of 2 horses in here that has experience at this distance. So it's going to be a class test, but I think she has the raw talent to be competitive.
Now, I have a follow-up question for you, Alexa, before we get to Del Mar. And again, I wish I was able to ask this question before I went into last weekend. But when you see a 5-1 horse, that doesn't feel as worth it to bet on a place bet or a show bet. Those odds just typically don't come off as worth it enough.
Yeah, probably not. Definitely not for a show bet. If I want to show bet a horse, I'm looking for somebody 10-1 or more, most likely. You could put a win place bet on her. I've put a win place bet on a 5-1 horse. You know, I mean, there is some tougher competition here. So if you do a win place, you probably would break even if she got second.
Got it.
But yeah.
Okay.
Those shows
you need some
better odds.
Yeah, all right. Little additional insight there. How about Del Mar, though, Alexa? What are you looking for over there?
Yeah, so Del Mar today, we have the Del Mar Oaks, and I like number 3, Whiskey Decision. She's kind of the new kid on the block with only 4 lifetime starts, and this will be her first time against graded stakes company, but she's dominated her last 3, winning by a cumulative 15 lengths across all those races. And she just has that so important tactical speed. And we've just seen her be versatile, coming from 5 to 6 lengths off and winning, as well as kind of being up there at the lead and winning. So this will be her first time on the West Coast. Definitely the toughest competition she's ever seen. We're going to get 2.5-1 on her, which I think is still a good win bet. But if you're like, that's kind of low odds, you want to try to get a little more value out of the race, I think you can pair her up with number 5, Buku in an exacta. She's going to be 12-1. She hasn't been on the same kind of winning streak as Whiskey Decision, but she's very experienced against this level of competition, running strictly against graded stakes company for the last year. She's won 2 grade 2 races. She's consistently putting up mid-80 Beyers, and she has the best closing kick in here. So I think she'll be kind of barreling down the stretch at the end. I don't know if she'll catch Whiskey Decision or not, but even if you box them in an exacta, so it doesn't matter which order they come in, I think that bet would pay at least 20 to 30 to 1.
Listen, 20 to 30 to 1. That's what I see. There's some like 50 to 1s out there at the back end of this race here too. So that seems to be the range if you want to show. Alexa Zepp helping us out with the horses. Alexa, we appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Always a pleasure.
All right, great stuff there as people get set for a little action today, Saratoga and Del Mar. We've got Brady Cannon right around the corner. What's going on over at St. Jude? We'll answer that next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we keep it rolling right here on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh joined now by Brady Cannon. Brady, great to talk to you here on a Saturday. We've got what looks to be a pretty fun weekend here at St. Jude.
Yeah, absolutely. The FedEx St. Jude Championship off to a good start so far. I tell you, one of the biggest challenges I think they're facing today, Kevin, is the weather. And I know it was supposed to be hot and humid there all week, and I haven't seen exactly what the highs and lows and that type of thing were the first couple days, but I checked it before we came on today, and looking at 95 for a high temperature and humidity around 78%. That is pretty brutal right there. And so you look at, some of these guys that aren't necessarily used to that type of thing at the top of the leaderboard. Justin Rose, Matt Fitzpatrick is not too far back. But then you look at some of the guys at the leaderboard that have dealt with that type of thing. Scotty Scheffler in Texas and Denny McCarthy playing out there in St. Simon's Island at Sea Island. Billy Horschel, played at Florida, and Sam Burns played at LSU. So I think it's possible. And I think it makes sense that the golf course and the Bermuda grass and that type of thing kind of favors the guys that grew up on that stuff anyway. But I think the weather is a factor as well, guys that are used to these conditions.
Yeah, so just taking a look here, Brady, and, I can't help myself always but start at the top, especially because, all these guys haven't teed off yet. But Scotty checks in at plus 180, and I know foolish of me to be surprised at a short Scotty number, and he's only 2 shots off the lead, but man, it's condensed up there. And I guess it's not that much shorter when you consider his, pre-tournament price and all things. But I don't know, the Scotty number looks a little bit shorter than I expected. How do you feel about him heading into the weekend?
Yeah, I would agree the number is probably a little short. Maybe he should be 3-1 or plus 250. I think there's a heck of a lot of golf here. I wouldn't want to jump on him just yet. But I tell you what, he scares the heck out of me, Kevin. I've got a pre-tournament bet on Hideki Matsuyama. And it's twofold here. Matsuyama is number 1 in this field for strokes gained putting. And it's like, how we feel about that. It's like, oh my gosh, that's probably not going to stay that hot for all 4 days, and I hope he doesn't come back to the pack, but I think it, is set up for that putter to cool off a little bit. Matsuyama doing everything well, really. He's 8th in strokes gained approach, 2nd in greens in regulation. The scrambling's off a little bit. Hideki Matsuyama is absolutely one of the best scramblers in the world, but he's currently 27th in this field for scrambling. And remember, that's, there's only 70 guys in this field. So the scrambling hopefully will come around for Matsuyama. Hopefully the putter does stay hot. But then you've got Scheffler just lurking there 2 shots back, number 2 off the tee, 19th on approach, which is a little bit out of character, 16th in putting, which is fine. It's not, crazy good, but it's good enough. And scrambling, we know what a good short game he has around the greens. He's 4th. So Scotty, just like I use the word lurking, I think that appears to be exactly what he's doing. Nothing really throws up a red flag for you as far as his numbers and his performance so far. And that's a scary thing. History will tell you that this tournament has not been kind to Scheffler. The last 4 times he's played here at TPC Southwind, he has had an average finish of 26th. So, that's one of the reasons I didn't really gravitate towards him this week. And I was looking for some longer shots. Didn't want to go to that, plus 350, plus 450 price. But there he is, absolutely scaring the heck out of all of us that didn't take him this week. So.
Yeah, listen, it's incredible. Let me ask you this, too. I see Denny here just through 2 rounds. Everything looks good except off the tee. He's outside of that top 50.
Right.
Based on the structure here, and I know we worry sometimes, can a putter hold up? Even if the putter holds up, can he survive here being that far off the strokes gain leaderboard in terms of off the tee? Or are eventually some of the longer hitters going to be able to pull past him?
Yeah, it's a great question. And Denny McCarthy has competed with the very best in the game in the past. If you remember last summer, he was right there until the bitter end with Victor Hovland, and Hovland eventually got past him and won the Memorial. He's been there a number of times, hasn't been able to kick the door down yet and get his very first PGA Tour victory. Now, he is an excellent putter, so you're right. The putting may just hold up for Denny McCarthy. He's currently 2nd in this field for strokes gained putting. Even though that can be a little worrisome, he is one of the best putters in the field. He's number 1 on strokes gained approach, too. So that looks good. If he's able to clean it up around the tee, he's going to be there. But, to your question, if Matsuyama and Scheffler, Justin Rose, Sam Burns, I feel like overall those are stronger players than Denny McCarthy. And I think eventually, if everything just kind of stays the way it is right now, I think somebody's going to beat him, because you're talking about better players. At the end of the day, you're talking about better players than him. And it doesn't always work that way. It's who's the best guy for 4 days, or who's the best guy on Sunday. Sometimes it's like that. But asking me right now, I'm looking at this leaderboard, and no, I'm figuring Scotty's got to be in the mix. I really like Sam Burns here because he's a great putter on Bermuda grass. Billy Horschel makes sense for the conditions and his course history and everything, although his numbers are a little bit erratic. He scares me a little bit. I think Justin Rose is possibly a good long shot here, but McCarthy, I just don't know. Against a loaded field like this, is this going to be where he gets his first PGA Tour win? I'm not going to bet on it.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. One name that kind of just jumps off the page a little bit right now is Will Zalatoris, because the form, and coming in, miscut, withdrawn T42, miscut. I swear, Brady, my brain, I know there was a moment where Will Zalatoris was considered not one of the 5 best golfers, but like a legitimate threat heading into tournaments. His form since mid-April has been atrocious. Maybe not to win this tournament, but even from a finishing position perspective, do you think he can kind of keep this up where he's at right now through 2?
I kind of do, Kevin. You know, this is the home TPC Southwind to his very first ever PGA Tour victory. So maybe he has, some good juju around this place. You're right. It's been disappointing for Will Zalatoris really ever since last year's Masters when he pulled out, with the back injury. He got the surgery in the offseason, has been trying to come back all year long. He did really well at a couple of tournaments early in the season, and then it really hasn't, like you pointed out, it hasn't been good for a while for Zalatoris until this week. So apparently this place, really kind of flips a switch for him. And I think he has, what makes sense around here as well. Typically a tremendous iron player, very good, ball striker. The putting has been improving. The short game has been improving. But as far as the ball striking, when Will Zalatoris is at his best, that is absolutely his priorities or top skill set. And, so far it's working out at a course where it's rewarded him in the past. So I think maybe he's found a little spark here. And I would expect him to continue to have a good week. And you're right, a finish position, top 20, top 10, maybe something like that. I'm not going to bet him to win. I don't think he's completely back yet, but I do believe the good week will continue.
I mean, if you look right now, he is minus 150 for a top 20. I think that kind of shows that they've adjusted Zalatoris from, again, maybe those old expectations, but of course history is there and current 2-round form is there. Minus 150 might not be a bad number for Will Zalatoris. We're coming up against the break. Brady's going to stick around. A couple more questions here with St. Jude, the FedEx playoffs, of course, coming into shape here. And then also just put a little bit of eye towards the football here as the countdown to kickoff is certainly on. Before we know it, it'll be Chiefs, Ravens, and then right into Eagles, Packers in Brazil, as we all were expecting. Quick break right here. We're live on SportsGrid Saturday morning. Kevin Walsh with you. Brady Cannon will be right back here on the grid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All All right, back right here. It's Game Time Decisions live on a Saturday. We've got Brady Cannon with us here, putting eyeballs right now on your St. Jude's matchup here. We are playing over in Memphis, Tennessee right now. It's the FedEx Cup playoffs, kind of this march towards the end of the season, Brady. And Brady, it's been a little while since kind of you and I have been able to get here together and talk some golf. I just kind of want to get your thoughts heading into the FedEx Cup playoff. You know, we had, of course, everything that played out at the Olympics with the incredible Sunday from Scotty where he won gold. You know, the player of the year probably sorted with Scotty winning gold. Just kind of how you feel with 2 rounds left here. And then, of course, you know, a couple of still big tournaments that need to be played.
Well, yeah, I think Scotty Scheffler firmly put his foot down and captured the player of the year with that amazing comeback on Sunday in Paris. And I don't believe, in years past, I haven't seen betting markets available for player of the year. So unfortunately, it's not something I guess that we can get involved taking action on. But you can bet on who will win the FedEx Cup. And I don't think Xander Schauffele is a bad bet for that, Kevin. Player of the year, I think, is already a done deal. But Xander Schauffele, anybody could still win the FedEx Cup, basically. Scotty is currently number 1 in the points standings. Xander's number 2. I don't necessarily see that changing a whole lot. There are 2,000 points at stake for this tournament here, the FedEx St. Jude Championship. And Scotty is just less than 2,000 points ahead of Xander going into this tournament. So nobody's, even the winner of this tournament, is not going to catch Scotty and leapfrog him. I think by the time we get to Eastlake, next week we go to Colorado for the top 50 in the points. Mm-hmm. And then we get to Eastlake in Atlanta for the Tour Championship, where it's just the top 30 in FedEx Cup points. And I think there's a good chance that Xander and Scotty will still be 1 and 2. And at last check, Xander was all the way to 4-1 to win the FedEx Cup. He's had a better history at Eastlake than anybody in the world, let alone Scotty Scheffler. And we know Xander, you know, before the Olympics, we thought maybe he was the best player in the world for a minute there. And then Scotty reminded us that he's still ranked number 1. But the point is, Xander's a better horse for that course, the Tour Championship. And Scotty said it earlier this week. I loved how candid he was. He said this is not a great representation of a season-long contest, if you will, or a season-long accomplishment. Yes, you get points for what you've done throughout the year, but then it just comes down to one golf course. And if you're not, you know, if that golf course fits player A better than it does player B, then it's not necessarily a great culmination of the entire season's work. And you can't argue with him. I don't know how to solve the problem, but you know, it is what we have here for now, probably the best system, the staggered scoring. Scotty's going to start off at 10 under par, Xander at 8 under par, and Rory, and on down the list. And, you know, if you're giving me a 4-1, a guy that's only behind by 2 shots, and he's the best player in the world at this golf course, not a bad situation to play Xander for FedEx Cup champion.
Can I ask you, Brady, a little bit more about those Scotty comments? Because at times, I just think about in other sports, when someone makes a comment like that, people will run with it any direction they want, but probably a negative direction of Scotty's chalking up excuses. He doesn't think he can close the deal. Do you take away anything from those Scotty comments more than just he thinks it's an unfair representation? Do you think it could reflect on his state of mind? Because we know state of mind is super important when it comes to golf heading into the FedEx Cup Championship.
It's a good question, and I think we would probably be errant to ever question Scotty Scheffler's confidence. You know, we've seen what this guy can do, and you know, you don't get to where he is in the world of golf or what he has accomplished without being extremely confident. But I do believe part of what he's saying is the course is not a great fit for me. And we just talked about it. The court, you know, Xander Schauffele happens to be tremendous at Eastlake Golf Club. So is Rory McIlroy. And maybe it's just not, you know, it doesn't fit his eye perfectly. Scheffler, I don't know. There could have been some of that in that comment. But no, I don't really think it was lack of confidence or anything. I think overall, he's just making that statement that it's hard to, have a tournament where you've got all these guys together and it's going to come down to this one golf course. And I don't know how you fix it necessarily. Do you have a 4-day event where you play 4 different courses? I don't, that's not for you and I to figure out. We're just here to try and bet on who's going to win. But no, I think Scotty was more making a general statement about the current situation in trying to determine who's going to be the FedEx Cup champion and saying the system is flawed. And I think we believe that. We've all known that for a long time. It's probably the best we've ever seen it for the last few years with the way they're doing it now, but it's still absolutely imperfect.
What I would say is, and listen, take anything I'm going to say with a grain of salt because I'm not as familiar, but it sounds almost like the setup with the FedEx Cup is comparable to most American sport structures, which is you play a regular season and then you get into a playoff. And it sounds like Scotty would be happier if it was done, and it's appropriately with the Premier League beginning of. In the Premier League, there is no playoff. It almost where it's just if Scotty says, "Look, I have the most points. We've tallied it up. I win," right? And that would almost be the way that maybe Scotty would prefer to be determined, which over the course of a season would make sense. But if you want a playoff, reality with the playoffs is the regular season stuff gets thrown out. And I know for Scotty. Why would he want that? Because he's obviously been unbelievably dominant, and he gets the aid. It's a really interesting thing. But again, it should be a really fun weekend here. It's going to be a fun 2 weeks, which will take us right up into football. Brady, appreciate it. As always, best of luck here with everything going on at St. Jude's.
Great. Thank you very much, Kevin. Always good to be on with you.
Always great stuff there again from Brady Cannon helping us out here with Denny McCarthy and Hideki Matsuyama right now, co-leaders at St. Jude's. 1 shot back is Sam Burns, 2 shot back. And currently checking in as the favorite to win this tournament, none other than Scotty Scheffler, because that's how every single tournament with Scotty Scheffler seems to look, at least for the foreseeable future. Quick break, by the way, the Newcastle-Southampton live under. Looking good for the Premier League folks out there. We're right back live at SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Big-time breaking news, first time you've ever heard about it. Hits, runs, RBIs on FanDuel. Now, listen. This is the first time I have been made aware that we have hits, runs, RBI on FanDuel. Some people have said that this has been the case for a bit. If you out there can definitively tell me that you've seen this prior to today, this week, just let me know. At the Kevin Walsh, I'd appreciate it. I haven't seen it before today. Now, I had to go into the batter props market. Let's see if this checks in on the popular page. No, it doesn't. Maybe that's why I haven't noticed it prior to today. Because on the popular page, they have everything, bases, RBI, runs, home runs, everything. And certainly to some degree, this is newer relatively. What I will say just at first glance is this might be exciting for FanDuel-only bettors. But aside from that, if you are on a book that already has it, I am not sure how much you're going to head over to FanDuel for this market as currently constructed. The market, similar to their RBI and run score props, are all to the yes. 2+ hits, runs, RBI. 3+ hits, runs, RBI. And you parlay. Nope, so that's useless. I'll just take Soto, for example. 2+ here, minus 230. Over here on DraftKings, we've got minus 165. Aaron Judge, minus 145 for 3+. Over the 2.5 here, minus 125. I've done a glance. I've yet to see a better number so far over here via FanDuel. So it's nice to see, because I think the hit-run RBI market has become increasingly more popular for the baseball bettor. I know I am involved with it all the time. I know our crew likes to line it up. And I know our guy, Donnie Rightside, who I still maintain, top baseball guy out there that you can get in the mix with, is started to pepper around with those a little bit and those different round robins that he'll use and big-time parlays and lay the juice, whatever it might be. So, again, it's nice to see it being added in to a big-time book here. But Austin Wells 2+ at minus 210 versus Austin Wells over 1.5 at minus 140. Not great. Right? And it would be different if all the overs were juiced and all of a sudden now said, all right, you know what, man, we can get some good numbers on some unders here. There are no unders. There's no under 1.5. So I certainly, again, if this has been out there for a month, why didn't any of you tell me? Valid question. Okay? I think regardless, though, considering how often hits, runs, RBI is the market that here on Game Time Decisions is talked about a lot, it's noteworthy to say, hey, there's another book getting involved. But I'm not sure there's much else to say other than, hey, there's another book getting involved. Realistically. I don't know if, I don't think there's a single number that is better here. I just used the Yanks-Tigers game. I don't think there might, Jace Jung, minus 160 for one hit run RBI. Over here, minus 130. And you can't bet unders. So it's again, it's nice to see, but it's not all that nice to see. Shout out Newcastle United and Southampton 1-0, live under 2.5. We saw a 2-0 win for Arsenal. So for anybody who kind of went double chalk money lines there with Arsenal and Liverpool this morning, that worked out. Late goal from Bournemouth makes that 1-1 against Nottingham. And then it is, goal was overturned. Brighton did actually make it 4 against Everton. Ashley Young picked up a red card, former United player. That's going to be 3-0 Brighton there, which is going to put them top of the table for those who are interested in that. 12:30, it's West Ham Aston Villa, which is one of the better games of this weekend. Tomorrow's Man City and Chelsea. Again, it's not like the Premier League's going to dominate conversation, but it's the opening weekend, and the NFL hasn't started just yet. The NFL does get underway in just a couple of moments here. as the Ravens have shot back up to a 2.5-point favorite out of nowhere against the Atlanta Falcons, total dropping down to 34.5. We'll follow that live, and we'll also get some preseason thoughts from Joe Madden as well as the Major League Baseball board. Let's lock in. It's a Saturday right here